14th and 18th for today's race. Kvyat in 14th, Gasly down in 18th place with a pretty disappointing qualifying session for him. We've got a lot of work to do. The Renault boys are ahead of us. They're in sort of 8th and 12th or something like that. And again, just like in Munich, Mark Webber was ahead of us, and we kind of don't want that to happen. We don't want them picking up points. We want to stay in 8th place. Yes, hello, welcome to Season 2, Episode 16 of Race to the Top. I'm Ian. In today's episode, we do have the Guildford GP, where there is a bit of a forecast for rain. If we have a quick look, it doesn't look like there's any rain for that first half of the race. That is what we wanted to see. So I'm going to talk about Pierre Gasly first. We're going to put him on the soft tyres. Now, the race trim makes a lot of sense, but the light-footed soft tyres, that's going to really help us. We could even take that off and go race trim. I'm thinking maybe we focus just on the soft tyres and see if that works. It gives us a 10% performance increase. The race trim does give us a 15% performance increase. But I think the soft tyres, with them wearing a lot slower, that could be a recipe for success for Gasly. So that's why we're sort of focusing on the soft tyres for Gasly. He's starting down in 18th place, so we don't need to worry about cars overtaking. If he falls to the back of the grid, so be it. Just putt around, keep consistent times, and hopefully last to well after the halfway point of this race. And if the rain comes down, we may be able to stretch them until he only has to do a one-stopper onto intermediates or wets or whatever the case may be. For Kvyat, rather, of course, race trim, that's all we're going to be focusing on. I'm thinking maybe the soft tyres as well, or we could go the mediums. They may be the better option, that's why I'm going for them. Because the medium tyres, if we ever find the correct button to press, the medium tyres, around 38 laps. So you're sort of looking around lap 30. You're looking at pitting for him maybe a fraction earlier, maybe 27, 28, which, as you can see, it's a 53-lap race. So he could do a one-stopper as well. This looks like it's going to be a bit of a one-stopper race. Now, the other thing that we are going to be looking at is we're going to be doing one lap less of fuel. It won't make a huge difference. We're going to start hard, and we're going to go to 2 laps deficit of fuel. So we want them to obviously start off gung-ho, so we want them in maximum engine burn mode. And we're going to get to minus 2.0 this time. And I'll explain that once we actually get going. And I'll do the same with Pierre Gasly whilst I think of it. Make sure he starts on those soft tyres, and we're going to do 1 lap less of fuel to start with. Let's quickly do driver strategy. Yeah. Usual. Let's have a look at the grid. So we do have Sebastian Vettel on pole position with Lewis Hamilton, the championship leader, next to him. On the second row, you've got the 2 Finns of Valtteri Bottas and Kimi Räikkönen. Then behind them, you've got Daniel Ricciardo, Sergio Perez doing very well up in 6th place. And on the 4th row, you've got Max Verstappen with Lance Stroll. Everyone's starting on the soft tyre, the super soft tyres rather. Nico Hülkenberg and Felipe Massa, they're both starting on the super softs as well in 9th and 10th. Then you've got Esteban Ocon, he's starting on the softs. Carlos Sainz, they're going to be trying to do a one-stopper as well for Renault. He's in 12th. Then you've got Mark Webber, Danny Kvyat, he's starting on the mediums. Then it's Fernando Alonso on the softs with Jenson Button also on the mediums. They're both racing for McLaren, of course. On the 9th row, you've got Romain Grosjean with Pierre Gasly. He's going to try and do a one-stopper on those soft tyres. That could really help him out. And then right at the back of the grid, you've got the 2 Rapax team drivers of Johnny Sissotto Jr. and Nick De Vries. They're both starting on different strategies. They got mediums and the softs as well. They're probably going to do something similar to us. They're going to try and one-stop that as well. But let's get into today's race. So we're going to focus on Kvyat because he's the one that's going to gain anything out of this because he's in 14th place, but he usually has a bad start. That was a poor start by Sainz in front of him, but Kvyat couldn't capitalise, and he drops back to 15th place because there is a couple of cars in huge mode. Now, Carlos Sainz has just run wide. That was very similar to Munich, wasn't it? Because it was Hülkenberg that ran wide before. So Renault not having the best of race starts. Kvyat still holding on in 14th as they're 3 wide going around that sweeping right-hander, but unfortunately he misses out. But look at how tight this is at the back here. Gasly's holding on into 18th place. Keep an eye on that fuel mode as well, because once they hit the deficit of 2, that's when we back them right off, and we won't touch the fuel again. I'll explain that in a little while. So Gasly's moved up to 17th because Grosjean's fallen behind him. Kvyat's still in 15th. He's battling away with De Vries, who's climbed very well. As Räikkönen leads out from the first lap, so he's gained a couple of places there. Hamilton and Vettel slip behind Perez. Perez is coming in 2nd place as well. Not a bad start. Kvyat dropped off a little bit, but again, you expect that with those traits, don't you? Expect him to drop away on that first lap. Now this is where we can start to see exactly how well he does. So let's back off those tyres a little bit, particularly for Gasly, because we want him to go to the whole race. And once they get to -2, that's when we back them off. As Nick De Vries has crashed, I just saw that. I might try and show the replay if I can get a good edit out of that. But unfortunately, no safety car. But that works well for us because he's a challenger for us, and he's now crashed out of this race. No safety car, though, so we don't have to worry about anything to change our strategy in that regard. But yeah, once we hit -2, we're going to back them off to the fuel mode of medium. The reason for that is I've done a little bit of calculation. I might just do it a little bit earlier, just to be on the safe side. I've done a little bit of calculation, as I say, and basically they gain 0.05 laps of fuel on the medium fuel burn. So if we don't touch that fuel burn now for the rest of the race, we should be okay. We've burned a little bit more fuel than perhaps other cars around us. That's why we're not doing too badly. Kvyat's falling away from this sort of pack of the Alonso, Button, Verstappen, Ocon there. But we can sort of hope that comes back to us a little bit. Because as you can see now, that's Felipe Massa who's managing to squeeze past Kvyat there. And we're now down in 15th and 16th place. Now, Webber, he's the one that we don't want him scoring points. He's up in 10th place, but he's sort of holding everyone up. He's got a bit of a trolley train going on there. But like I was saying, with this fuel, we can hopefully see this fuel should help us at the start of the race because we're going to be fractionally quicker, and that should be able to come back to us towards the end of the race. And of course, because we're so far at the back, we may get blue flags, and when we sort of have to lift off to let the lead pack through, that sort of helps us a little bit. You end up saving a little bit of fuel there. So it'll take 20 laps to get through to regain that lap lost of fuel. So it'll take 40 laps to go from -2 back to parity, which, as you can see, there's still 50-odd laps to go, so 48 in fact. So it should leave us a little bit of fuel at the end of the race that we could potentially burn, and obviously it gives us that little bit of leeway as well. So I could have even gambled a little bit more and shaved sort of 2 laps of fuel off at the start, but hey, I like to sort of keep things just down the middle. I don't want to take too many risks either way. I do have to be a little bit mindful there of Gasly's tyre, where as you can see it's just climbing a little bit. But as you can see now, because we've got that fuel so well, we got so much extra speed, it has sort of brought us back into Alonso and Button, who were starting to pull away a bit in Munich, and I think they're even pulling away a little bit in Vancouver as well. So as you can see, we're keeping up with them, which is great news for us because we really need to keep on with this, whole group of cars. If we can sort of stay in touch with them, that works out well because some of them may sort of not be able to go the whole race. Now, Kvyat and Gasly are side by side. This can only end badly, but Gasly manages to get past Kvyat, and Kvyat seemingly let him go because, of course, he's still got that trait active where I can't give him team orders. I can't tell him to let Gasly go through. Now there's Carlos Sainz there, so he's closed up. After running wide on that first lap where he lost a lot of time, he's now right back up. He's 17th. He's ahead of Sissotto Jr. and Grosjean, and of course De Vries, who's crashed out. So that's how quick Renault are, and that's how much work we've got to do. The fact that we're only 3 points behind them in the championship, and they're clearly a much quicker car, that shows that, if I was the Renault boss, I would be a little bit disappointed as Carlos Sainz is making very, very light work of both Kvyat and Gasly there. That was pretty disappointing. I was expecting a little bit more fight there, but Kvyat just sort of rolled over and Gasly didn't do much either. But let's start speeding things up a bit because I've been waffling so much. We're 7 laps in and I haven't sped things up, so I do apologise if this episode runs a bit long. But Gasly's still there. Now, who's that? That's Button that he's right behind, so he needs to get past Button. He's right there. He's got the sort of slipstream, but unfortunately it doesn't look like he's got that power on the straight. So the fact that a McLaren's pulling away on the main straight, that's a bit of a worry for the Toro Rosso engine. But we're just about holding in. Kvyat's keeping close distance as well, and the good thing about Kvyat is he's built up a 5-second lead to Grosjean, and that's great. Webber, meanwhile, is still sitting in 10th place, and he's got a bit of breathing room as well to Massa, so that's something that we have to keep an eye on. And he's on the the slower tyre, I should say. Webber is on the slower tyre to Massa, and Massa's not really doing very much. So I don't want Haas to be scoring points because I kind of want, if Haas finish last, there's a good chance they'll get relegated, and that gives us, again, a bit more breathing room for the next season because it doesn't look like Rapax are going to do anything. And whether it's racing engineering or Sauber that come up, they're not exactly great either. So we sort of have a bit of a chance there. Gasly's still in touching distance, just about, as we've actually just lost Button briefly on the screen. So he's sort of fallen away a little bit. Kvyat's meanwhile keeping up with Gasly. And you know why? Because I'm not paying attention to his tyre wear. As you can see, the tyre temperatures are really, really fading fast there. That's probably why he's sort of drifted off a little bit. So I'll sort of bump them up. But as you can see, look, now Kvyat's on the compound that will last the longest, the harder compound. He's on the mediums. He's on 72% wear. Gasly's on 80% wear, and he's on a much softer compound. So now we're sort of getting his tyres back up to temperature because I've been too busy chatting to you. He's closed right back to Button again, and he should be able to get past him eventually. It's not going to be an easy thing to do, but he should be able to just about manage that at some point. There you go there. He's having a look. He just got the front wing up the inside, but it wasn't enough. And Button maintains 15th place, and he's going to be looking at pulling away. So here goes Gasly. He's having another look. They switch left, switch right. He's on the outside, and he's coming side by side. He gets him on the outside, but Button's going to have the inside line, but Gasly just about gets in front of him. Now he has to maintain it, and that could be a lot harder than we thought. And let's have a quick look, see if any rain is forecast. There's no rain forecast up to lap 40 now, so that puts us in a good position with Gasly. He's still on pace for a one-stopper. Kvyat, we kind of got to hope for rain if he's to get anything out of this. But Gasly, unfortunately, he's starting to fall away. He's 10 seconds behind Webber. I should say Massa, rather, who's actually got in front of Webber, so I wasn't paying attention there. So Massa's up into 10th place. That was great for us because Webber, they're our main challengers. They're coming last with 0 points, Haas. And at the moment, they're not going to be picking up any more points. So that works out well for us. Now, Kvyat has also managed to get ahead of Button as well. So Button is dropping right off. And that's surprising because Kvyat and Button have got very similar tyre wear. So that sort of shows that our car isn't too shabby. But we can just back them off a touch. Tyre temperatures are sort of in that middle ground, which is what we quite like to see. But I'm really, really impressed about Gasly. And I'm sort of thinking what I might do is you're looking around 26, 27. That's when you're looking, that's sort of halfway. So around lap 26 is when I might start looking at maybe sort of pushing Gasly a little bit harder. Let's burn through these soft tyres and try and catch up, then pit, and then go to the end of the race. Now, Verstappen's dived into the pits very, very early. He's the first one to pit by the looks of things. But he's come out just behind Kvyat, his old teammate, and was he? No, they were never teammates, were they? Verstappen and Kvyat? I don't know. They're Red Bull teammates, let's say that. They went through the junior program together. But either way, he made light work of Kvyat, and he's back up into 15th place on the much quicker Red Bull, the sister car. And Gasly will probably be quite light work for him as well. But he's the first one to pit. That's interesting, because he must have burned through his tyres very, very quickly. The Red Bull must have pretty poor tyre wear, because Ricciardo looks like he's going to be the next one to dive into the pits. So Verstappen has managed to get ahead of Gasly. So we're still down in 15th and 16th, but rather worryingly, we're still losing touch with Webber, because we are sort of back under. We're about 9 seconds now from Webber, so we are closing down a little bit, but it's not enough. I'd like to be a lot closer when we sort of get to these first lot of pit stops. So Ricciardo has just dived into the pits, and he comes out in 10th place, so he's done very, very well. Verstappen's got a lot of work to do, as you can see. But in terms of people pitting, there's not really anyone around us that we have to worry about just yet. Kvyat's, in fact, most likely going to be the first one to pit. You're going to have Ocon as well. He's likely to possibly pit. Alonso will probably be the next after him. Other than that, no one else is really around us that we have to worry about pitting. It looks like everyone at the back, from sort of Science down, ignoring Verstappen, of course, so Science, both of our cars, Button, Grosjean, Sissotto Jr., they're going to one-stop this. Doesn't make for exciting racing when there's only one stop to worry about. But, there's rain coming, people. Let's really, really push Gasly now. Let's really, really push Kvyat as well. And what we're going to do, actually, we might just back Kvyat off a little bit because he's going to have to pit soon anyway. But we can really, really push Kvyat now. Or actually, you know what? I think we might try to stretch Gasly out. He's at 60%. We've done 19 laps. So if we double 19 laps, that's 38, and that's when the rain's going to come down. So if we keep Gasly here, he can one stop and go on to the intermediates to the end of the race. Kvyat, meanwhile, he's not going to be able to do that. He's going to have to pit. So I think what we might do is we might bump Kvyat up. Now, if you didn't see that, Raikkonen dived into the pit, so Vettel regains the lead at the front. He's 7.5 seconds ahead of Bottas. Mercedes of Bottas and Hamilton, who's down in 5th, have got a lot of work to do if they're coming from this. Now I'm going to really, really bump Kvyat up now, and we're going to pit very, very early. We're going to pit onto super softs, and then we'll pit again. That's going to be a bit of a gamble for us, but we're out of the points anyway, so let's try something and see if it pays off. I don't expect it to, but by going onto those super softs, you know, we may be able to get something out of it. So Kvyat has moved ahead of Massa, who's dived into the pits. But he's gone onto fresh super softs as well. Now, it looks like people are all going to be making a very, very similar strategy choices, because we're going to try and burn through these tyres. So I think we may even have a little go at pitting Kvyat very, very shortly, because the rain's expected to come down on lap 38. Now, if we have a quick look at the super softs, they're expected to last probably only about 13, 14 laps. So we're looking at pitting around lap 24, something like that. So we can keep Kvyat out for the time being. He's burning through his tyres very, very quickly, but that's fine with us. Gasly, meanwhile, we want him to maintain these soft tyres. So when that rain comes down, he's only got to do a one-stopper. Now, Raikkonen is battling away with Vettel there. He's closed up. Vettel has pitted, and he retakes the lead over Raikkonen. There's only 1.7 seconds in it. Kvyat, meanwhile, is battling very, very hard there, but wasn't to be. Now, do we pit Kvyat now? We're doing okay on the tyre wear. I think we try and do one more lap, maybe. Or do we pit him early? We're at 30% wear at the moment, so it doesn't seem like it's really worth it. 29%. He can go around one more lap, I think. Or... oh, I don't know. This is so tricky. No, I'm calling it. We're going to pit him early. We're going to put him onto the super softs. Park conditions all good. Don't worry about the recharging of the battery. Let's go for a fast pit stop. Let's pick Kvyat now, and we're going to want him to go pretty hard on these super soft tyres. So in comes Kvyat. We need a good stop. I mean, hey, we always need a good stop. It was a decent stop. So now we can start seeing what happens. Now he's come out ahead of Sasotto Jr. It probably won't last too long, as we see there. Sasotto Jr. squeezes past him, but Kvyat has now got fresh super soft tyres, so he should be able to get ahead of Sasotto Jr. Like, I'd like to hope so. If he's getting stuck behind him for the next... he needs to get ahead of him in the next few laps, otherwise his strategy's shot to bits. And as you can see, he's making very, very hard work of this, and that's not what we wanted to see. They're sort of jockeying for position there. They're in and out, in and out. Kvyat has a look up on the inside. He's side by side with Sasotto Jr. and he needs to get ahead of him. He just about gets ahead of him. Sasotto Jr. is hanging on there around the outside, but that was hard work, but we just about managed to get there, so we can back Gasly off. I'm watching those tyre temperatures starting to climb quite quickly. The rain is forecast at around lap 38, something like that. As you can see, not as much as it was anticipated, but it will be sort of intermediate tyre wear time. So Gasly, pushing him to the end could be really, really hard. But as you can see, he's closing up on Stroll in 10th place. He's only 7 seconds behind. There's a lot of work to do there, but the one stopper could work, because people like Verstappen, for instance, Alonso is going to be really, really pushing to go for a one stopper. Button won't be able to. Ocon won't be able to. So this could work. This is Gasly's our only real hope, because Kvyat is not doing that much, is he? He's going to be going another 10 laps or so, Kvyat, and then we'll get him onto the intermediates. But the good thing about pitting him is he's now fallen. He's about 13 seconds behind Gasly, so any sort of worry of a double stack, shouldn't come to fruition. Although I'm sure Kvyat, I'm not studying it too closely, but I'm sure Kvyat's taking huge chunks of time out of Gasly, so we don't want them to get too close for obvious reasons. But at the moment, Gasly's doing very, very well on those soft tyres. He's making them last, and the one stopper is looking very, very likely. So we'll quickly cut over, because Kvyat's still 3 seconds behind Grosjean. Gasly doesn't really have anyone around him either. You can see he's 3 seconds behind Massa, and he's 7.6 seconds ahead of Button. It looks like McLaren have either backed off. They're either sort of thinking of the same thing. So Verstappen's had to dive into the pits again now, and he's putting on used super softs. That's a terrible strategy decision. They can see the rain's coming, and they've had to pit him again. Unfortunately, Red Bull made a big mistake there, but Gasly's still doing very well in his pace. Kvyat's backed off a little bit on his pace. He's not doing fantastically well there. Down in 18th place, he's got a lot of work to do, and I don't think it's going to work for him. I think, because once everyone's basically going to be pitting for intermediates at the same time, so it'll sort of be the same situation, ignoring any sort of, stuff-ups in pit stops. So basically, you kind of expect him to be coming out in 18th place. But Gasly's doing fantastically well on his pace. Look at how great he is. He is closing in on Alonso now. He's only 6 seconds from Alonso. Now, Alonso will surely have to pit soon. If he's going to go to the end, he's going to be losing a lot of time. Danny Kvyat's managed to squeeze ahead of Romain Grosjean. That was great for him. He's still got a lot of work to do, though, down in 17th place. Button's fallen back again as Verstappen's managed to crawl ahead of him. But Kvyat's now eyeing off Button, and he could move up as well. So, hey, this early strategy may work for him. He's got a lot of work to do, and if he pulls it off, I'll be really, really impressed. He's having a look on the inside, but he's going to have the outside coming up to this first sort of corner, but he gets ahead. He's up into 16th place. What a great start for him. Ricciardo, meanwhile, has dived into the pits. We're still keeping an eye on that rain, and also I'm keeping an eye on that tyre temperature of Gasly's car, because that is really, really poor. So we need to bump him up a little bit just to keep him chugging along, because we don't want his tyres to grain too much. As you can see, look at how low the tyre temperature is there, so we need to bump that up. With 21 laps to go now, and we will be getting close to that rain, and as you can see, there's going to be a water on track. It's going to be an intermediate tyre finish. That's a guarantee. It's all about how much Gasly can do on these soft tyres. He's at 32% wear at the moment, so he's still got about 5 laps to go, so he's got a lot of work to do, unfortunately. Kvyat, meanwhile, he's doing very, very well. He's got 50% wear. He'll be able to get to the intermediates. He'll be able to do a one-stopper. He's up into 16th place, which I'm pretty sure is where he was when he went into the pits, so he hasn't really gained at all. But what's rather interesting is Button, Grosjean, Soto Jr., they're all going to try and go the one stopper as well. They're going to try and last till the rain, but they're going to be losing so much time that I don't think it's going to really work for them. Meanwhile, we are still within 5 seconds of Sainz up in 10th place. We've got Massa in between us. Sainz has just been overtaken as I say that, but it looks like they're battling away. Let's quickly cut to them. As you can see them there. Now, Sainz is going to be going. He's got 17% wear. He's losing a lot of time. Webber's dived into the pits as well, and he's gone on to softs. That works out really, really well for us. What a disaster that was. That's a stupid decision on his part. Now, Sainz is going to go and try and go to the end of this race, and Gasly's got slightly better and slightly quicker tyres, so that could work in our favour. We can close up on Webber and close up on Sainz as well. Even if we don't get up to Sainz, we've closed that gap to him, and he's in the 10th place. He's in that final points position. But as you can see, Gasly and Webber are battling away. Now, Webber's got fresh tyres. Kind of expect to see him go past. Now, Sainz has gone straight onto the intermediate tyres. Alonso has cut a corner, but it doesn't look like anything's coming from him. So we might see him dropping down. Or is that a drive-through? I think that may be a drive-through. But there's still no rain on track yet. So Sainz going onto the intermediates early may have been a silly decision. Now the rain's coming down, so now we pit. Helps if I choose the tyre before I get too excited. So we're going to pit Gasly in 12th place. Let's see what he does, and we'll pit Kvyat as well at the same time and make sure everything's all good for him. They're going to be a long way behind. Let's hope it's a good stop from Gasly. He's our only hope for points. The front right. He made a mistake. Again, it cost us. No mistakes on Kvyat, though, so Kvyat's right there, and we've now got blue flags. And that's going to really, really hurt us for the rest of this race. Again, a mistake on the front right. It was the front right last time, I'm sure of it. So annoyed. Now, Grosjean, we will jump a couple of places because Grosjean's yet to pit. Alonso's yet to pit, so we will jump back up. There goes Alonso and Grosjean have both dived into the pits. So we move ahead. Both our cars move ahead. But I'm so frustrated. So frustrated. I was really, really hoping if one car was going to stuff up, have a bad pit stop, I wanted it to be Kvyat, not Gasly. And instead, we're now many, many seconds behind 10th place. And again, our chance of a points finish is gone, just like that. But then I said that in Vancouver, and because Kvyat's had a mistake, didn't he? It was either front right or front left, I'm sure it was. And I thought, that's it, points gone, and he ended up finishing 10th. So, was it 9th? It was finished 9th, didn't he? Not 10th. It's even better than I thought. But I don't think we're going to be getting that, unfortunately. So we are going to have to bump up Kvyat because keeping those tyre temperatures looks quite difficult. So there's 13 laps to go now. Gasly's going to be able to one-stop this, but unfortunately, because of the mistake, he hasn't really gained. He would have come out ahead of Sainz, I'm almost certain of that. but it's not to be. Webber's just out of the points, so hey, I don't care. As long as if we don't score points, as long as Haas and Rapax don't. Rapax have got Sasotto Jr. as their only runner now. He's a long way behind. He's 105 seconds back already, and we're already getting blue flag. So we've got less laps really than we thought. We've got however many. It's 13 laps to go. We've only got 12 laps to go, something like that. So, you know, we can go to the end of this race quite comfortably now. And what we're going to do is we might even be able to push that a little bit harder. But as you can see, Gasly's 7 seconds behind Sainz. We're certainly not going to be catching up to Verstappen, even if we manage to close the gap. Verstappen's quicker, he'll be able to hold off. Webber, he's very close to Ocon. He's only 0.8 of a second behind Ocon. Well, actually, he's more than that. There's a lot more than that. He's about a second and a half behind, so he's falling away as well. So Ocon in 10th. Hey, I'm happy with that. That's good. Stay there, Webber. I don't really like Webber. I'm not a fan. I wasn't a fan of him when he was in Formula 1 in real life, so I certainly don't like him in this game because he's our main challenger. And the fact that he's probably about 40. So Kvyat's also now getting blue flagged as well. He's at the back there. Who's he being blue flagged for? He's being blue flagged for the runner of the lead runner, I should say, of Sebastian Vettel. There he goes. That was easy enough. We can bump up his engine mode now because he's got so much fuel to burn through. Gasly, meanwhile, he maintains 14th. This is where it's going to finish. It's going to be 14th and 15th, I'm afraid, because everyone's on the intermediate tyres now. Nothing's going to happen. There may be a safety car, potentially. Mercedes E, you may just see that, has allowed Lewis Hamilton to pass Bottas. So it looks like Bottas has come back. Now Pierre Gasly's getting a blue flag because that is Sebastian Vettel closing up to our other driver now. So Kvyat will close in a little bit to Gasly. But it's funny, you know, because Gasly has impressed me. Despite his attributes being poor, he's actually doing a lot better than Kvyat's been doing. It's incredible. And so I don't really know what to do. I think for the next race, I think we give Gasly the best parts. And I think we just shaft Kvyat. We make Gasly a clear number one because Kvyat, with those negative attributes, those negative traits, it really hurts him. Coming up to that first race, you know, the first lap rather, it just hurts him so much, and there's nothing you can really do, you know, to combat it because Kvyat's just not that great on those first laps. He's a much better driver than Gasly on paper. As you can see, he's closing down on Gasly in the same car, same tyres. He's showing that he's the better driver, but then don't forget he has got slightly better parts. He's got a better rear wing, which is crucial here in Guildford. So, you know, you expect him to be pulling clear of Gasly, and it's just not happening. I just don't know what to do. I really don't. As there you go. So Kvyat's managed to get ahead of Gasly, and again, I can't even tell Gasly, you know, you're going to go back ahead of him because Kvyat's got that personality trait order. It's so frustrating. So we're going to sit 14th and 15th in the end, but rather disappointingly, I've been talking about not getting any points. Something that I do want to talk about, you can see there, Hulkenberg, he's up into 6th place. So if we have a look at the championship, we will be 11 points. Now, something has happened. Felipe Massa has crashed, so we all move up 1 place, but that doesn't help us at all, really, because we're 13th and 14th, and as you can see, we're 14 seconds behind 10th place Webber for Haas, and they pick up a point now for Massa's crash. That is not what I wanted to see. I mean, look, you know, we're still 8 points clear of our next challenger, but it's really frustrating. It really is. We've got 5 laps to go. There's not much really happening now, is there? So we can sort of relax, I think. But yeah, like I was saying, Hulkenberg finishing in 6th, it puts Renault 11 points clear of us now. So 7th place is even out of the question. 8th place looks like it's where we're going to be finishing. But as you can see, Haas picking up that point really, really hurts us because whilst that, you know, we're not necessarily going to get relegated anytime soon, if they sort of pick up another couple of points in the next race and another couple after that, all of a sudden we've got to start looking over our shoulders. And I don't really want to do that. But we're sitting on 9 points. Rapax Haas on 1 point. There's still a nice buffer there, but unfortunately, these 8 points that Renault are picking up today through Hulkenberg, they don't, you know, that's any chance we had of 7th is gone. In fact, Renault are now going to be challenging McLaren for 6th place. Now, what you may have seen is Sasotto Jr. had a mechanical issue, so he's gone into the pits to fix his car. As you can see, the smoke billowing out of his car there. So his race is definitely done. But let's cut back and have a look at Gasly in 14th place. I think he's going to be our number 1 driver. I said at the beginning of yesterday's episode that we sort of have to keep our drivers, really, because I don't want to waste money on them. But Kvyat is becoming a bit of a liability. I don't like him. Again, he's one of those in real life. I like Kvyat. I really do. I think he's a very, very talented driver. On this game, though, he's just a complete liability. So, do we spend the money, terminate his contract at the end of the year, and sign someone better? Have Gasly as a number 2, sign a good, solid driver. Someone like Ricciardo or Hülkenberg or Sainz, someone like that, and put them up in as the number 1 driver, have Gasly as the number 2, and ensure that the number 1 driver is scoring all our points. That might be what we have to do, as we are approaching our final lap now. Nothing's going to change. We're going to stay 13th and 14th in the end. We'll cut to Kvyat because he is leading from Gasly. He is in 13th place, but he's not done very, very well. The fact that Gasly had that pit stop mistake on the front right, that hurt his race. He would have been a lot further up the road if that mistake didn't happen. So the Vettel has crossed the line ahead of Kimi Räikkönen. Or are they? No, there you go. Wow. Vettel was 20 seconds away. I got a bit confused there. So Raikkonen came second. Hamilton got onto the podium in third. Ahead of Bottas. Then it's Perez. Hülkenberg will be crossing in sixth for a great race for Renault. Then it's Ricciardo. Stroll and Ocon are too far apart to have anything exciting happen there. We finished 13th, 14th. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I don't really know what else to say because, that pit stop cost us. Gasly, I don't think Gasly was going to score any points, but I would have liked to have seen him finish 11th maybe, but it wasn't to be because, of course, it was the worst time to have a mistake because everyone sort of pitted at the same time, so it really, really hurt us. Now, Fernando Alonso got a drive-through penalty, so that's why he finished down in 15th, but he could have been a lot higher up. Jenson Button down in 17th, really, really poor for him. But, of course, the big thing is Mark Webber for Haas in 10th place, and, of course, Nico Hülkenberg in 6th. That spreads the teams out a little bit now in the points. We don't change. Our drivers don't change. They're 14th and 15th in the championship, and we stay 8th. But we're now 11 points behind Renault, and Haas has moved ahead of Rapax. That's not surprising. I'd love to have been there for that point when Rapax picked up that point because they haven't done anything since. And I think it's probably because of their factory. It's probably just not up to standard. And so they're finding it really, really difficult to improve their car, which is what we're sort of doing. We're not sort of spending any money. And so we're just sort of tanking now. So you can expect to see us fall further and further back as the season goes on. But both our drivers lose a little bit of morale. They improve across the board on their attributes. And Helmut Marko's happy. We're expected 8th. We finished 8th. Not too bad at all. And, of course, this is the big thing, though. We're picking up £2 million a race, and we've still got quite a few races to go. We're up to £12.1 million now. So we could potentially build a pretty good car next year. And that's why I'm sort of thinking if we get rid of Danny Kvyat, we're in for a bit of a chance. Now, this is really cool. Remember that team Koiranen? You may remember it. I mean, I managed them for a little while, and I achieved pretty decent things. They just came first and second in Ardennes, which is where we are in the next race. They pick up bucket loads of points, and if we have a look at the championship, look who is leading it. I think we should end the episode there, to be honest, on a positive note, because I've got nothing positive to talk about Toro Rosso, but the fact that Koiranen are more than likely going to be coming into Formula One next year, and we could be battling them for survival. Oh, I don't want that. Oh, I'll see you next time.